Good morning, students. So, today our next topic we'll see that is first law of motion. Now, by observing the motion of objects of an inclined plane, Galileo deduced that objects with constant speed, when no force acts on him. Now, he observed that when a marble rolls in an inclined plane, its velocity increases. In the next chapter, you will learn that marbles falls under unbalanced force of gravity as it rolls down and attain a definite velocity by the time it reaches the bottom. So there was this scientist Galileo. What he discovered was that when he pours some marbles on a slope, so what happens that as it rolls down, its speed increases. Yes. Now, its velocity decreases when it climbs up. Now, figure 9.5c shows a marble resting on an ideal frictionless plane inclined on both the surface. Galileo argued that when the marble is released from the left, it would roll down and go up on the opposite side to the same height from which it was released. If the inclination of the planes from both the sides are equal, then marble will climb the same distance covered by rolling down. What he tried to say is that suppose હવે હું લેફ્ટ સાઈડથી માર્બલને રોલ કરાવવા મૂકું. So as you can see, marble is from here to here, this much distance. આટલા ડિસ્ટન્સથી તમે માર્બલને રિલીઝ કરો તો after striking here it will go to the opposite direction till the same distance, which is this is what he said. Now, if the inclination of the planes on both the sides equal, then marble will climb the same distance. If the angle of inclination on the right side plane was gradually decreased, then the marble would further distances till will travel further distances till it reaches the original height. If the right side plane were ultimately made horizontal, that is reduced to zero, the marble would continue to travel forever till it reach the same height that it was released from. The unbalanced forces on the marble in this case is required to change the motion of the marble, but no net force is needed to sustain the original motion of the marble. So what he is trying to say that when you release this marble from a certain height to different angles, yes, so એવી જ રીતે ડિફરન્ટ એંગલમાં તમે રિલીઝ કરો તો એવી રીતે ડિફરન્ટ ડિસ્ટન્સ સુધી ટ્રાવેલ કરશે. સપોઝ યુ રિલીઝ ઓન અ સેમ એંગલ, યુ સી equal distance, you release હજી એંગલ તમે હજી રાઈટ હેન્ડ સાઈડ ઉપર લ્યો. If you take more to the right hand side, it will travel more. The same way, more you take right hand. And what if the plane is horizontal? That means the plane is straight. So you see, it will travel and will go on traveling to a further extent. Now, the unbalanced forces on the marble in this case are zero. If thus suggests that unbalanced force is required to change the motion of the marble, but no net force needed to sustain the uniform motion of the marble. So that is just a basic thing. What he was trying to say is that હવે તમારે કોઈ પણ ઓબ્જેક્ટને જો એની જગ્યાથી મૂવ કરવું હોય, if you want to move a certain object or any object from its place, so you have to apply a certain force at a certain angle. Yes. So when you apply that force to a certain angle, then only that object will move. For example, the book that is kept on your table right now, what if you just push it? Yes, once you push that book, તમે જો વધારે સ્પીડ વધારે પ્રેશરથી વધારે ફોર્સથી બુકને પુશ કરશો તો જ મૂવ થશે. If you push it with a low force, it won't move. Yes. So to bring any object in the motion, you have to apply a certain force in it. Yes. This is what he's trying to say. Now, thus, this is because the presence of frictional force action of the motion. Frictional force means a force which opposes any object to move. Suppose right now only I have told you that you have to push, if the book is on your table, you have to push the book in a certain force that it should move. If you apply very less force, so it's not going to move. Why? Because the friction force is more. When you apply the force, what happens કે friction force કરતા તમારું જે force હશે એ વધારે હશે, and then only the object will come into motion. Now, thus in practice, the marble stops after traveling some distance. The effect of frictional force may be minimized by using smooth marble and a smooth plane, and providing a lubricant on top of the planes. Okay. Now, Newton further studied Galileo's idea on force and motion, presented three fundamental laws that govern the motion of the objects. These laws are known as Newton's laws of motion. Okay. So, studying this experiment, Newton thought, why not make a law for this? So he made mainly three laws, that is uh, fully based on the motions and on the gravity. So there are mainly three laws of gravitation. We'll see the first law. The first law states that an object remains at rest or of uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled to change the state by an applied force. This is a very what I said. It's very kind of complicated statement what here in your book given. If you want to understand this or if you want to write this, you can write like that way, that an object remains in state. An object does not move from its place unless and until an external force is applied on it. If you want to write it in your book, note it down, or you note it down in your textbook. On the top of it, there is a space. You can note it down that an object remains at rest unless and until an external force is applied on it. This is Newton's first law of motion. That means કોઈ પણ ઓબ્જેક્ટ એની જગ્યાથી ત્યાર સુધી નહીં મૂવ થાય જ્યાં સુધી તમે કોઈ પણ જાતનો એના ઉપર ફોર્સ અપ્લાય નહીં કરો. To move any object, you need to apply certain force on it. In other words, all objects resist a change in their state of motion. In a qualitative way, the tendency of undisturbed object to stay at rest or to keep moving with the same velocity is called inertia. That is why the first law of motion is also called inertia. So that inertia means what? It means કોઈ પણ વસ્તુની જે નેચરલ ટેન્ડન્સીસ છે એ છે કે રેસ્ટ ઉપર રહેવાની. દેટ મીન્સ ઓકે, ફોર એક્ઝામ્પલ, એની ઓબ્જેક્ટ તમારા ઘરમાં કોઈ પણ ઓબ્જેક્ટ હશે તો એ એની જગ્યાએ જ રહેશે. દેટ ઇઝ ઇટ્સ નેચરલ ટેન્ડન્સી to be there. Yes. So unless so that property is called inertia, and that is why first law of motion is also known as law of inertia. Certain experiences that we come across while traveling motor car can be explained on the basis of laws of inertia. We tend to remain at rest with respect to the seat until the driver applies the brake to stop the car. You do know that when you travel by a car, yes, હવે જો કાર સ્મૂથલી ટ્રાવેલ કરતી હોય તો તમે તમારી જગ્યાએ તમારી સીટે પ્રોપરલી બેઠા છો. બટ એઝ સૂન એઝ યુ નો સડનલી ધ બ્રેક્સ અપ્લાઇઝ, દેટ મીન્સ સડનલી ફોર્સ લાગે તો તમે તમારી જગ્યાથી મૂવ કરશો. You will start moving a bit or more, that depends on the way you sit, but you will change your motion, correct? So this is what one of the examples for that. With the application of brake, the car slows down, but our body tends to continue in the same state of motion because of inertia. A sudden applications of brake may thus cause injury to us by impact or collision with the panels in front. Safety belts are worn to prevent such accidents. Safety belt exert a force on our body to make the forward motion slow. હવે સપોઝ સેફ્ટી બેલ્ટ્સનું કામ શું છે? યુ ડુ નો નાઉડેઝ દેટ સપોઝ સડનલી ક્યારેક કોઈ પણ વસ્તુ સામે આવી જાય અને બ્રેક અપ્લાય થાય તો સેફ્ટી બેલ્ટ શું કરશે કે ભાઈ તમને અહીંયા સુધી અડવા નહીં રહે, તમારા માથાને ત્યાં સુધી it won't allow your head to touch the glass, or if would allow, then જે સ્પીડથી તમે જાતા હશો એ સ્પીડ સ્લો કરી નાખશે. Yes, so that તમને વધારે ઇન્જરી ના આવે. An opposite experience is encountered when we are standing in the bus and the bus begins to move suddenly. All must have experienced કે તમે કોઈ પણ એસટી બસમાં જાઓ તો જ્યારે એ સ્ટાર્ટ કરે ફટાકથી સ્ટાર્ટ કરીને મૂવ કરે તો you feel a certain force on you. Yes, so this is what happened. This is because the sudden start of the bus brings motion to the bus as well as to our feet in contact with the floor of the bus, but the rest of our body opposes the motion of inertia. Now, when a motor car makes sharp turn, okay, so these are just the examples mainly. Sharp turn liye છે કાર ત્યારે પણ તમે એવું feel કરો છો. Yes, the fact that a body will remain at rest unless acted upon an unbalanced force can be illustrated by the following activity. Okay, so this activity you do know. હવે carom ની જે here you can see carom is there. All this won't move unless you know hit this through this. That means તમે એક જાતનો ફોર્સ આના ઉપર અપ્લાય કરો તો જ એની જગ્યાથી મૂવ થાય છે, બાકી એમને એમ રહે છે. યસ, so this is what here Newton's first law of motion suggests. The same way, these are the two examples mainly. Now, yes, okay, so for today this much is enough. And in your essay 1 from this chapter, જે તમારા ખાલી બે જ ટોપિક્સ છે. જે one topic is balanced unbalanced force and second one is Newton's first law of motion. Okay, and these two topics we have already done. And જો notes હશે, so I'll pass on to you notes, and that much only you have to do for your essay 1, chapter number 8 and chapter number 9 માંથી ખાલી first two topics. Okay, thank you everyone.